Holy crap, have I been offline this whole time? Has this thing been live? It's been silent this whole time? I think, dang it. All right, well, I can't tell you how ultimately frustrating that is. That's what happens when you don't pay attention, I suppose, and you don't have anybody in here to tell you, and there was nobody saying nothing. At least I couldn't see the thing, so dang it. Now is it working? I can see my little squiggly. I'm going to do this, and hopefully you can still see my squiggly. I think I'm in the chat this time. At least was it playing the little animation here the first time around? I don't even know if I can do all this again. Holy moly. What was that? 25 minutes, 30 minutes of solid gold? Holy crap. Start this whole thing over again. How do you even do this? Is it technically possible to do this over again? I'm going to do this one this time. It's not the same, but similar. After a commercial for some kind of cat toy, some kind of cat scratcher thing they're giving me this ad for. Cats here. Move along. Move along.
Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans. Another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the line, this is your song.
All right, we'll try this again. Welcome, everybody, to our Daily Gun Show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for an hour-ish. We usually go a little bit longer, but sometimes to cut it short, so it's about an hour average. This is episode 1200 something or another, so we've definitely been doing this show for a while. It's now 2020, December, and we started this show, I think, in March of 2016. We pretty much go live every weeknight, so been doing it for quite a while. The format has changed quite often throughout the years, and it's an opportunity at this point, 1,000-something episodes in, to continue a conversation about guns, and that's what I was going on and on about, I guess, while I was on mute earlier. But this is an opportunity to have a conversation. I think I put in the show description the night, like, what did I put in there? Like the advanced night classes. I've been doing online conversations. I've been involved in online conversations since the late 90s when I started at AOL, and I was talking a bit about starting at AOL and valuing the conversation there. I think one of the big reasons, one of the reasons for the success at AOL was because it gave people, regular people, not just computer nerds, an ability to get online and use the best things about the internet, the ability to collaborate, the ability to seek out and find people who have specific areas of interest that we do, or similar areas of interest. You can do that sometimes at a gun show. There's an opportunity to do it at gun shows and other industry type events and places to meet. But if you can't attend those, or if you don't happen to cross paths, it's very difficult to, prior to the internet, find people with similar interests without some entity or organization or something bringing people together or having like a newsletter or something. So as soon as I found that element of the online, I was a big fan of that. In fact, what I did at AOL was revolved around the instant messages and stuff, because this aspect of, even at AOL, this aspect of what we can do online has appealed to me. I also built stuff at AOL, built keywords and stuff. So building stuff online, websites and stuff, archiving knowledge online has always appealed to me as well, but that's sort of a side topic. But this idea of having a conversation online, like I say, has literally been what I've been doing online since even before. I played some video games and stuff back in the olden days, I guess, of the internet when it was very crude. And again, it was an ability to bring people together to with a shared interest, right? And it was just different than other things. I had done things like scouting where we had a shared interest, and we would do things together, but you didn't necessarily like everybody in your scout troop. That was a necessity of who lived together, who went to the same church or school or whatever it was. So I definitely had some experience with having to work with people who had the same interests. I was in the military. I did some government type work before, worked with the government. Again, people have the same interest in getting a work done or a cause or a project, but you don't get to choose who has that same interest. And that was always frustrating pre-internet days. And it's a luxury I don't think many of us appreciate, is that now you have the ability to pretty much get up and move and find somebody who's got a more similar or more aligned area of interest or focus than the conversation you might be having. And anyway, that's what we try to facilitate here. We try to create an opportunity for that and evolve the conversation. I guess the other reason I started reminiscing on those olden days is because I've been in this conversation a long time. And for a while, it was the evolution of the technology and the accumulation of people coming to the conversation was a part of it. And it was, I don't know how many Garys out there who's got the same kind of time frame as me, and I think experience with computers and stuff. You've got the years there from maybe the 90s into the early 2000s where the internet was slow and it was crude and people were still discovering what could be done. So there was no repetition yet. There was mostly emulation of offline things. We were trying to be magazines. We were trying to be television shows. We could only do what we could with the ability and the reach that we would have with a slow, old-fashioned, brand new internet. But as technology changed and things evolved, telephones brought more people online and brought the use of the online tools into a new realm. As those things changed, the conversation had more and more people, and it started to still evolve but grow into new areas. But the conversations themselves didn't evolve. The conversations repeated themselves, and we all know the conversations in our area of interest in guns, right? It's going to be the caliber debates. It's going to be the where and how to carry. It's going to be the same old, same old. Actually, the conversations come from the gun shows, and they come from the gun shops and everything, where we had this, ability to meet, but all we could do is get these kind of stranger type conversations, not intimate friendship type conversations going. We could only get the what's the word for not strangers, but some acquaintances, just the polite conversations that you'd have in an elevator. You really didn't have a chance to get involved in conversations when it was all face to face and in some of those early days of getting people together online. But like I say, as people established, they got into places like forums and newsletters and radio shows that went online as podcasts, and all the different things happened. I think around 2010, or probably depending on what you do online and how you paid attention, or at least in my experience, I would say somewhere around 10 to 15, the current playing fields became established. The YouTube was bought by Google, and then Instagram was bought by Facebook, and the masses of people seemed to settle at the most useful and the most efficient and the most technically advanced, so that they could accommodate the masses of people. But those platforms that are still around today became established in that sort of middle ground. And that's where phones turned into smartphones, and broadband was the norm at that point. In other words, high-speed internet connections was a thing. No more dial-up, no more waiting for things to happen online. And along with that came video and streaming. And real fast behind that became the background or the infrastructure to support everyone streaming. It was very few hiccups in the technology. And I think that facilitated the number of people that joined the conversation. So that middle section, I call it the middle because for me, that's the middle section of the time online. That era was the establishment of what we see today, and they grew, and then we got the larger audiences, and people either became listening, podcast listeners, they became YouTube viewers, they became blog readers. Their habits became established in those years. And then we see some political situations that coincide, at least in our neck of the woods, again, on the internet and our topics. We see some news things that coincide. I don't know how deliberate they are. This isn't Honda's conspiracy chat, but these things that derail us from evolution of conversation as these established media mediums, I guess, became established. The podcast, the YouTube channels, the bloggers, things like AmmoLand. They became established and started to grow. They were speaking to a growing audience, an audience that was either online and becoming aware or just becoming online, right? So a larger and larger audience, and that's shown by the numbers. It wasn't as though it was a large audience already, and they discovered these things. These things were there to be discovered by these people who were joining the internet, joining the discussion. Now, I think we see less of new people joining online, unless you count, little kids that are growing up and becoming, new members of the conversation. They're not discovering the internet, they're just growing up into it. So it's a different type of introduction. It's not even an introduction, it's just the evolution of their growth, right? But I think you see less of that, and now you see more of the, where was I going? You could see more of the evolution of the conversation, not welcoming people so much as exploring, right? And that's the part that's frustrating to me as somebody who's been around guns for a while and the internet as long as it's been around, to see the cycles. And like I'm saying, it's getting frustrated and making it clear why you're frustrated, I guess, is two totally different things. So since this is Monday and the topics of the week include how to do the stuff we do, I figure on Monday here we'll start off the show with this sort of conversation, one-sided conversation about what we're trying to do with this show and a little behind the scenes of why we're trying to do that with this show, as opposed to just the same old, right? So if everything's still coming in clear, I guess throw me a heads up because I do have it just set onto this mesmerizing screen. This is actually engineered. I went to Fiverr and paid some guy in Iran to set up this thing. And it should make you buy things from gearwebsites.com. You should be purchasing things in the hundreds of dollars level because of this hidden messages and this animation that's happening. But anyway, the show here is on Mondays is to talk about how we do what we do. And since I'm taking that opportunity to get the show warmed up here, talking a little bit about why we do what we do and specifically why this show is, thanks for that. This show is, and I guess I will stop this now because it's got to be annoying as hell, why this particular show has evolved into this format. So again, I'm kind of talking about the format currently is an open conversation. However, it's in the middle of the night. So I'm not really looking to have an open conversation with, everybody who's never been online before, never picked up a gun before. Like I say, the conversations in that realm have been going on since the beginning of time. And they're definitely still happening online. If you look for them, they're all over the place. And I'm more than happy to join in on those, but not on our time in the middle of the night like this. Instead, I would like to see that conversation evolve. And it can. It just hasn't had an opportunity. And I suspect to some level it's been stifled. And we're very predictable and we're very easy to rile up, and then we're easy to settle back down. We're not looking for a fight for the most part. If you pick on us, we're slow to react, and then when necessary as gun owners, we will react quickly, and then we're pretty much happy to just go back to leaving everybody alone. And because of that, the other side is able to poke us and prod us, and I suspect do things in a certain order and a certain method so that they can potentially manipulate us a little bit, push us around in a predictable way. And that's doom on us for allowing that. If it's not true, then good, right? If it is true, then the hell, we should be smarter than that. But if it isn't true, shouldn't we be aware that it's a potentiality? And if there's something that we can do to be aware of it that would prevent it, then isn't that worth some effort? I'm not saying that's the only reason for this format, but that's the type of thing I had in mind here. Is that I don't want the conversation to simply be at the whim of the current or at the whim of randomness. That maybe the conversation will evolve, but if something happens politically, we'll start all over. We'll get upset. We'll experience things. Some people for the first time, some people for the 31st time, and the conversations will still be, at the whim of whatever the primetime news tells us to talk about that day. And that's always going to happen, of course. I'm not saying that shouldn't happen. You have to be able to talk about that stuff. But I'd also like additionally to have some time set aside for the conversation to evolve. So that's, I guess, what I'm getting at is that this is hopefully gun culture, the advanced. So there's somebody out there who's like some kind of college guy who's got a class on gun culture. He calls it Gun Culture 2.0, I think. I'm probably screwing it up. But I'm ripping that concept off, and I'm calling this Gun Culture 5.0, the advanced class, right? Like, I'm glad that there's people who just jumped on board and are like, hey, let's take this in another direction and talk to the people that are new, right? The next, because I can't talk to them. I'm not really trying either. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and have conversations at a kindergarten level when I'm in this for the 20th year. I want to start having conversations with people who are at least wanting to talk about some complex math, who've seen a couple of different art shows and want to talk about some interesting paintings or something. I want to talk to somebody who's got more than just needing to have recess every 3 hours. So with that, I'm not looking to have some kind of nerd conversation necessarily every night, but if it turns into that, I am not going to be upset about that. Anyway, so on Mondays, we pretty much talk about how to build channels and why and the nuts and bolts. If there's specific questions or topics, the noonday show will eventually get up and rolling in a more regular fashion. Kind of had a preview of it for Thanksgiving. Pretty much the worst time ever, probably, to try to do a beginning of something. I just wanted to get it going, and the timing wasn't good doing it right before a holiday like that, on a midweek holiday. But whenever I can get back in the flow of that thing will keep going. And then those noon shows will give us some topics or some ideas for suggestion, some direction for the show. Tuesdays is 2A Tuesdays. So ideally we talk about a different state each week and some of the more important stuff, not necessarily news of the day, but some of the stuff that gets overlooked by the people who look at news of the day. If you just react, you're not doing preventive maintenance. One of my other careers along the way in a younger life was doing machine repairs and all different kinds of stuff. And a big part of that, making that job easier, is to do preventive maintenance, changing oil filters, checking lubes and bearing surfaces and that kind of stuff, so that you don't get wear that eventually causes problems or that requires high cost of swapping out things, replacement parts. So why couldn't we do that with our community, right? Why can't we create some things same way back in the day when hunting was being challenged? Hunters and gun owners came up with the idea of wearing orange. At least as I understand it, that was inside the industry, inside the culture effort to ward off or prevent or challenge some of the BS that was coming from the outside. So we could, we have the opportunity to, again, we're using all the power of the internet to get enough people together to make that happen. We don't need the whole entire gun community to make something happen. We just need a few creative and interested people to to participate, and then the people that do act on certain things, who knows what comes out of them. What's Bob saying? We have to let other people share their ideas. What you were talking about there, hippie? So let me throw a link out there if you want to jump in. Do open this show up. Kind of been starting it off here to see if anybody's going to show up. Got 7 people out there watching. Mississippi Thunder is out there. Buns and Barbecue's out there this morning or this evening. Let's see. So how do we evolve the conversation? The conversation's not evolving because people don't feel there has been a resolution to the original conversations. No. I don't mean like that needs to be a resolution. It's just that, when you're new, you're going to talk about basics. And then once you're experienced a couple of things, you're going to talk about your experiences, and you're going to talk about what other potentialities there are or whatever. And then once you've explored some of them, now you've got some experience in something that you really like. And I mean, talk to somebody who's old, right? You've got certain things that everybody's just got, not everybody hits every topic, but there's like this certain, the first year type of gun conversations people are going to have. And then there's your second year gun conversations and so forth and so forth. Well, there's just not that many people that have had guns their whole life. So there just can't be that many people that have had 60 years of gun topics to talk about. And most of us that have had decades and decades of gun experience just never have had a place where you could sit down and have the adult conversation over here and let the little kids eat, candy and sweet potatoes over there, and we'll eat adult food over here. So I don't think it's a fact that like I'm sick of people being wrong all the time. I'm just sick of them talking about coloring books, and I want to talk about records or something. Is the conversation not evolving because people don't feel like, oh, okay. Anyway, now you jumped in here. Is that pretty much what you're talking about there?
Yeah. Let's say then I had another idea. Do you feel it's not evolving potentially because you don't get to encounter people on a regular basis that have been in the game as long as you have?
Hold on. First off, are you trying to say I still haven't killed a deer? Because that's not accurate.
Wait, that's from Midnight's chat last night. Let me change that.
In this chat, I haven't killed a deer today. I haven't killed a deer in Canada, if anybody's asking. Now Bob jumped in, the original co-host of the show. So it wouldn't even happen except for Bob. Thanks for jumping in. I wasn't sure what you were saying out there. I don't know where I was going either. I just wanted to kind of start the show off.
I'm just saying, like, I think the really important part is we have to take people's views from all over. Like you were saying about like people wearing hunter orange, right? That was something that the first people who wore it, people would make fun of them.
Right? Oh yeah, like what do you do? You're supposed to be wearing plaid or whatever, yeah.
Well, no, it was like, well, where I lived, it was you're supposed to wear white, blend in with the snow, stuff like that. And like to wear the hunter orange, it looked really stupid, right? I've got pictures of myself as a little kid in black and white, with a hunter orange toque on my toque or a cap on my head.
Yeah, you got to translate into English. Right?
Yeah, okay. You call it a beanie. Yeah, but it's actually a toque. People that call it a beanie are idiots, including Tim Pool.
I just call them hats.
Well, no, they're toques. There's toques and hats, right?
But no, I know what you're talking about. Now, that was all before my time. I can remember playing in plaid stuff. And I think like World War II, if I understand this, because no one's ever sat me down and whatever, right? I think in like World War II, you wore plaid is like, hey, don't shoot me. I'm over here wearing red plaid or whatever. Like I'm a guy, I'm a human, not a deer. Because sometimes you'd have like a deer over your back, or you'd be carrying something that could make you look like a critter. So you'd wear something that didn't blend in. And then sometimes if you were a deer, if you were, I don't know, hunting in a specific way, you'd get all camoed up, because that's where camo comes from, right? It's from hunting. But then I think is where they went to orange as a whatever. So am I wrong that like the red was sort of a thing that was even had to be like people had to be like awareness, right? Like at first people were like, who cares what color we're going hunting, wear something dark. And then it was like, no, wear red so we quit shooting each other.
I've never heard that. I mean, we wore like the red and plaid, like the plaid shirts, because we wore those all year. It was just a wool jacket shirt. You've seen my wool shirts and
No, and like literally everybody back in the day, that was a type. Like if it was really cold, you put on a knit wool jacket, like a big heavy, not jacket, a coat.
Yeah.
It makes more sense. Maybe I was just thinking they're hunting because it was winter, but yeah, they might have been wearing that same coat all year round too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you didn't change your clothes to go hunting. I mean, it used to be. I remember when I first started hunting, it was a new thing. You had to wear an orange cap. That was the rule. If you were going hunting, you had to wear an orange head covering. It could be a baseball cap or a toque, but it had to be bright orange.
And I can remember people getting all pissed, like, "Oh, I forgot my hat," and then you'd be like, "Do you have something orange?" And you tie something orange to your head, and in case somebody was going to give you.
And people still got shot. I mean, it's just there's idiots that hunt. Hey, Mr. Knives, holy shit! It's like old home week.
Now, I can also to whatever. I mean, this is just the way it was. But back in the day, when people went deer hunting, it was like, I got my shotgun, I got beer. Oh yeah, I should bring shells too. But like they were going out to go partying, and
that's part of it.
But the thing is, they were shooting deers on top of cornfields and soybean fields. So it's not like they were hunting as much as they were eliminating the extra deer and getting drunk.
Well, we call it harvesting. I actually just last weekend I helped cut up 5 deer that we got, and
you kind of have to though. That's the thing. It's like labor. Like, and so you bring deer because you're gonna be like 7 dudes out there wailing on a deer all day, like cutting into it. It's not like there's a butcher does all that. Like nowadays, these like, what do you call like somebody who just goes to work in an office all week and goes hunting twice a year? Like that guy takes his shit to a butcher. But back in the day, like you'd go hunt 3 or 4 deer a year, and
that's the way you still do it. It's 3 or 4 families. Like everybody's got a license and shit, but it's way easier. One guy's got a shed that's got a hoist that you can haul the deer up on the hoist, and then one guy cuts them up into pieces and hands them to the other people, and they'll cut the meat off and either turn it into steaks or, mostly with a deer, there's not a whole lot of steaks, right? It's ground meat, and you might get a couple of nice back straps.
I was going to say back straps, and that's about it. And a roast, right? You take its butt and make a roast or something.
Yeah, a couple of roasts. I like to take a lot of the leg meat, especially down around the bottoms of the legs, cut that up into stew meat and stuff.
Well, I was going to say sometimes they'll cut it and then make it into whatever you people call carne asada.
Yeah. This is the funniest thing. Like, well, what I found the funniest thing anyway is we had 4 bucks and a doe because we get to shoot everything here. But the doe, nice big doe, right? She was so fat. She had like at least 2, I'm not shitting you, 2 inches of fat on her. 2 inches of fat on a deer, right? The bucks had just barely any fat at all. It was like they were just all lean because they were. That was great, man.
Was that running this year about fat deer girls, little deers?
It's just the does eat and the bucks just try to find them to, do what.
I'm asking if you can make deer jerky. Like, I think it's technically possible. I don't know if maybe it does because it's so tough, right? Like you're trying to cut deer.
No. I have a whole bag of deer jerky. It's freaking excellent. Just done in an air dryer. Like, honest to God, like a giant bag of them.
Now, when I was a kid, we would make jerky by going and buying steaks and then making it and salting it and putting it in the oven so we could. I don't know if you could buy jerky when I was a little kid. All you could buy is Slim Jim. So I think we just did it to have actual meat. But when we did shitty cuts of meat, we would cut it the other way so that it was like, I don't know what to call it, like against the grain, right? So when you make deer jerky, are you doing it like strips of muscle or are you doing it against the grain? So it's basically already, when you're eating it, it's like half chewed up already.
Oh no, we're doing strips of muscle.
Oh, really? And it's not too tough to chew it apart?
Oh God, no, no, because you do like it's 12 hours if you do it in the oven, right?
Oh yeah, we would do it in scouts, and we would do it like an all weekend thing actually.
Yeah.
And staying up all night was awesome.
Yeah, so it's I mean, I didn't get a deer this year because I didn't go hunting this year. I got my I put my application in for moose and regular deer, like just deer and then whitetail. So potentially I could get 3, and if I get a moose, I have no idea what I'm going to do with a moose.
You're right by Montana. You're really close to the border. Is there a moose that far south, or do you got to go somewhere?
Oh hell no! I can. There's moose like in the area.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
So
If I want to hunt them, I'll move a little further north, 100 miles.
Squirrel puppet and set it out on a stump, and then eventually a moose is going to come up to investigate, and then that's when you nap.
Damn near. I mean, I do have a little creek runs right through the village I moved into, so there's this little creek runs through. So yeah, you can get anything coming down a creek. Well, they call it a river, but it's like 20 feet wide. I don't really call that a river. Ditch.
Paul Bunyan.
Yeah. Well, I'm Canadian, right? We like what other people think is big. We just go, oh yeah, no. In Canada, it's way bigger.
Oh well, hey, since I got you in here,
it's true. Like our whole country is bigger than everybody else's, except Russia, technically. And we have the biggest rivers, the biggest lakes, the biggest everything. Can't help it. It's just a Canadian thing.
All right. Well, so Pink bought this app or whatever, and that got me to go over here and get the free one again. So make sure these are all Bob approved.
What? Pink has an app?
No. He bought the app that I'm showing here on the screen.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying,
oh man, that looks cool. I think that's great, man. Send those to me.
See, the thing is,
you know what? That works. I could have been a movie actor.
Isn't that crazy? This thing is free, and because it's free, it puts this shit here. So I'm gonna see if Pink will just run me some ones that don't have the thing in it. But yeah, you just take that one picture.
I make a great John Wick. I just gotta say that. Oh, I do a good Chuck Norris too, really. And you look at those guys and you go, oh yeah, that could have been me. Oh well, maybe not that guy. That looks a little weird. I don't do a good Asian, apparently. Oh man, if you're betting on me, like going on this stream, yeah, you lost the bet. I'm not going to die on this one.
No, I think that's the last one. Those are all the good ones. There's a lot of girl ones, so I'm guessing a lot of girls get it, and then stick themselves on all these girls from music videos.
Oh, yeah. Oh, women love this, right?
And then there was a bunch of shit that I don't know because it's like that fucking sword show that everybody likes, Seat of Thorns or some shit.
Oh yeah. That's so stupid. I hate that show. It's like a soap opera, except they just made it. Now it's like really cool.
And then Harry Potter and crap stuff that was like just elfin crap that just didn't work with the show. So anyway, I just picked a bunch of action shit because basically, if I play that stuff for the first couple of minutes, the show starts. When you hover over it, like here, I guess I'll just show you. When you hover over it on YouTube, it just previews that, so it's kind of cool. It's like a free little tweet or whatever to get a cool thumbnail. And I sometimes throw them on Instagram or whatever just because they're funny. Here, to there and there, and then you go to the video section. So now if you hover over, and it's the one that I did it on, see you get like a cool little preview of the video, if I remember to do it. And I pretty much try to remember. But anyway, I just want to have some more because I only have really the one right now.
It's really cool, though.
Let's see. So anyway, so I started out the show saying how I'd like the conversation. You've been around for in this conversation, like I say, for since 2016. I think we started this, and that was by no means the beginning of us bullshitting. We just decided to officially do it as a podcast then. So we had been chatting quite a bit. Oh, and speaking of that, did you see that they're starting early watch again?
No, I didn't.
So somewhere along the line, while Gun Channels was pretty much rolling good, a bunch of new people would come along. Gun Channels. Bob was there from the beginning of Gun Channels, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Gun Channels had different lives. You know, it came and went, and it had waves or whatever. And certain people, maybe a dozen or two, were around for the whole time, at least that were active. And then maybe more, maybe hundreds altogether, you know, that stuck around, were just quiet, watching everything. But it's hard to say because I really didn't track that shit. It wasn't my intention or goal to do any of that. But, you know, just judging from watching numbers and shit, I'm guessing it was something like that. We had 1 million views a month, so it was definitely a lot of people using it. But, you know, it definitely came in waves and shit. So somewhere along in there, these guys started doing a live chat with Knives, I think, when Knives was doing his daytime thing. And anyway, so this guy, Tony from Illinois and Jimmy from Arizona, and was there another person? I don't think so. They just started doing a chat every morning, I think, right, for a while.
Yep.
And it would kind of be on before Knives started going live. And stuff happened, you know, life happens, and nobody's getting paid. This wasn't a sponsored situation.
Yeah,
So,
nobody got paid on this shit.
well, you know, they're doing it for the sake of having the conversation.
Right.
So,
for.
and anyway, so they quit doing it. And now I guess Tony came around the other day saying something in a chat, and Night Strike posted a video saying it's starting again. So I'm just assuming that's the 2 and 2 putting them together. But I did hear from Jimmy, I want to say somewhere between like March and April. It was earlier this year, but I can't pin it down because things were so crazy this year, and it all kind of, you know, he just talked. I from Dead Horse was going to bring back early watch, but he was waiting to build this computer, and I don't know what happened with all the craziness. Something got delayed there. Then I heard from Jimmy saying, "Hey, I'm going to start this," and something about something, and then I was like, "Yeah, right on, dude." And then I think he was like, you know, "Hey, can you help with this or something?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, anything you need." And then didn't hear from him again ever. So anyway, so that was a neat thing. And the idea was that they would get together and talk about gun news that they were aware of. And I think the way they found it was one or the two of them would do some sort of a filtered thing on their browser. So they would tell their browser, show me all the news with this in the title, or show me all the news with this in the title. I think they did it that way. So they would get all these alerts, or maybe it was an email thing where they would, you know, send me an email with all the news with this in it. And they would get some kind of a filtered list of the news, and then they would go through and determine what they were going to talk about and address each of the things. And it was no holds barred. It was sort of like a nighttime browdy. How do you say that? Rowdy? I don't know how to say it. But it wasn't like a polite, put your pinky up and drink tea. It was a drink a beer in the morning type of chat.
Rowdy, brawny, you know.
But yeah, rowdy works. They weren't obnoxious. They weren't trying to piss anybody off, but they were just being like normal, you know, just drinking a beer and then breakfast type of shit. So anyway, it was a pretty fun show. And the best thing I thought about it was that kind of organically, I think it wasn't like, I know nobody sat down originally and said, you know what, let's start a show and then we'll work our way into this. But it eventually worked itself into, they became the hub. The early watch became the hub of a bunch of people helping to bring them news so that they wouldn't miss news from somewhere XYZ state, right? That because of whatever filter they were putting on their browser or their email or whatever system they were using, in case something got missed, they had people who were in a state or aware of a state kind of playing a zone defense for them. So they would, you know, hey, you didn't hear about the Connecticut thing here? Here's the thing from Connecticut. And then that person would be like Early Watch Connecticut, or if somebody was watching Delaware, I'm Early Watch Delaware. And I don't know how many states they had all together, but
they had a bunch. I still get the emails from some of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People would either come on the scene and that was their contribution. So they are early watch, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Or they were somebody who just like me, I couldn't count how many accounts I have on the platforms because most of the time, for whatever reason, you need another one and then you have a third and whatever. Now you have an extra one. So once you've made a few, it's nothing to, oh, we need another one. Let me grab one real quick. I'll just start one real quick. So, there was quite a few people who were, well, everybody was doing it at a different level. And that was what was neat. It was a collaborative effort. No one was expecting any kind of something in return, fame or fortune. And I don't think anyone believed that they were solving it either. And that's something that I also think, like when I talk about this being an advanced class, I don't think there's right or wrong, but I think that there's traps we fall into and there's just the natural frustrations and the natural waves and those things that can be abated or can, once you know that something might happen, at least you're aware of it and you can watch for the signs that might have led you to that. And being aware of it can sometimes harden you to that, so that it's not just a reaction, but instead you can go, okay, I know this is one of the many steps I'll need to pass to get to a much, much distant future, goal, further goal. I don't need to stop because this is dire. This isn't the end. This is just a hurdle or a step, and to keep the conversations going. Anyway, so anyway, the early watch had, I don't know how many states, but was it a majority of them? I don't know if it was that many. Close to 50. It was debatable whether or not it was all or a majority of the states or not. It was a bunch, and I'm sure some people had more than one state. And it wasn't like anybody had to do anything. It's just that they had a representative for each state to be on the lookout, right? If there was something going on, they had somebody to talk to or expert.
Yeah, it was people who were, that was something they would look for in the news or they would listen for. And if, the state started trying to press a law or make a new law or make some kind of new anyways, yeah, anything like that.
Some kind of bullshit they're trying to pass them by.
From that state, right? The whole point was that they would look at what was going on in their state and they would try to move it upwards so that, or at least make it available to people.
If you think about it, if everybody took 2 states, you'd only need barely 25 people.
Well, exactly. Right. And if you got like 5 or 6 people per state, well, that means you're pretty much going to cover that state, hopefully.
That's true too, yeah. And what was neat is that it would have been a great match for Every Second Matters. Though Every Second Matters, is really just an awareness campaign. Somewhere like, let's say it started in November 13, I think, or December 13, no, November 13, and somewhere like 16, because it was before Clover Attack and all them, is when Sean from Florida Carry was hanging out at gun channels all the time, and that lawyer guy from Florida Carry were hanging out at gun channels all the time, like having a great time chatting with everybody. And they're like, oh yeah, you should develop Every Second Matters into this whole like thing. Because at the time it was literally just a WordPress basically it was a thing that said there's nothing to it. Just do something on the second, period. There's no rules, and it's just do something on the second of each month for the Second Amendment. Be aware of it. And then I decided as a project I would go find the Second Amendment for each state, and I had a second page on the website that was just the Second Amendment for each state. And then the 9 states that didn't have a Second Amendment in their state constitution, it just said doesn't have one. So that was it. And then I think a third page that said, this is really it. There is nothing else. There's nothing to join. There's no one to contact. There's nothing to buy. There's no obligations. Just do something on the second. And we left it at that because that's what really was all about. It is still all about that. But guy from Florida Carry was like, oh, no, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, whatever. So anyway, threw a lot of money and effort into building Every Second Matters into basically the same. If you ever want to wonder what gun channels is all about, gun channels, they talk about gun channels. That's gunchannels.com existed for 7 years. It was a place for people who are interested in this kind of thing to have a community. And, it was built for 7 years, and it is the same thing as Every Second Matters. So if you go look at Every Second Matters, just replace all the stuff that says Every Second Matters with gun channels, I guess. And then wherever you see something like a gun owners organization, think of somebody like Bob or Guns and Barbecue or Clover Tack or one of the other people who had created a channel over there, a place like a Facebook page or a YouTube channel, a place that they could do stuff. It's just that one of the things they could do was set up a chat room and have a conversation like this, and then hook it up and set up their YouTube hangout, set up the live chat, and then boom, you're in business. You've got a place there that you can have a conversation, that you can post pictures and all kinds of crap. So anyway, if you want to get an idea what that is, you can check out Every Second Matters. And that was all developed with Sean or whatever. So that's great. Sounds great on paper, but when no one's using something that's designed, to get way more than 1 million hits a month and have thousands of people use it on a daily basis, if it's just empty, just like any city, it's going to get weeds and neglect and things are going to fall over and things go out of date. And if no one's using it, I have really little interest in going over and updating you can't imagine how many things need to be updated constantly on things, emptied and filtered and blah, blah, blah. So if nobody's using it, that becomes a lot of unnecessary waste of time maintenance. And that neglect is a big signal for all the horrible crap that happens on the internet, all the nuisance crap that happens on the internet, all the scammers. So anyway, it becomes a real pain in the butt. So basically at some point it was just me and I know it was Gizzard and maybe 1 or 2 other people who were ever even posting anything on Every Second Matters. So I shut it all down. It exists. You can look around there. It's an open, empty city, but it's an empty city with poison and just every piece of life is dead there. The information's still there, but it's dead. But it was at that point where it's just been sitting there on life support when an early watch was going. And I was like, dang, that's like the perfect thing. I could just lock it down, give just the early watch nation the keys, and then boom, they've got a place to put legislation. They've got a place to put calls to action. They have calendars. They can add organizations. What happened to Bob? Hopefully he'll jump back in. But yeah, that would have been a great match. But facilitating it would have been a challenge. Organizing it would have been a challenge. And real life and lack of, just everybody being super wealthy and bored all the time. We have lives and things to do. Lives and wives, right? Woods says he posted stuff. I don't think he was a spammer. He's probably talking about valid 2A stuff. He used to be pretty 2A. Let's see how 2A he is. I wonder if Bob's coming back. I know Canadians are only given a certain amount of freedom, and if they stand adjacent to freedom too long, that counts as freedom. But we'll see. Ozzy is saying he's a big fan. I don't know if he was one of the early watch nations or not, but John Brown was saying he also misses it. Anybody watch Clover's chat earlier today? I had 2 live streams today. Anybody watch the end of the auctions? Holy crap. Some of those things. We were looking at this. So Pot of Gold Auctions is AZ Firearms. Those are the names of 2 businesses here in Arizona up near Phoenix on the California edge of Phoenix. So pretty much the last thing you do after you leave Phoenix and you just run through this stretch of desert, you're in California. The last thing you do is as you leave Phoenix is go right past AZ Firearms, Pot of Gold Auctions. And today they had their 14th annual giant gun and military auction, 300 something items at auction, and they all ended. It was all electronic, all online. They all ended starting at 6 o'clock when Clover corked them and did a live show or a live premiere, I guess. And it's pretty neat watching 300 things end. The way they ended was staggered like a minute or 60 seconds, or I guess it's the same minute or something, some amount of time apart from each other. And if someone bid in the last 2 minutes, then it would, if someone bid, it would extend it by 2 minutes. So in that extension, if another person bid, it would go back another 2 minutes. And if in that 2 minutes somebody bid, it would go back 2 minutes. So these auctions would start to reach the end point, and then get bumped if they got a bid. And sometimes they would expire and bid out, at whatever hot max bid. Sometimes they'd get another bid and they'd get kind of pushed back in the list. So I don't know if anybody was paying attention to that or watching it. We went live at 2 o'clock my time, which would have been 4 hours before the thing ended. And we looked at pretty much everything on there. We watched the first 100 or 200 maybe items with actually looking almost at every single thing and commenting on quite a few of them. And then as time got away on us, we kind of skimmed through the last 100 and something of them. But we definitely seen, all of them and, like say, scrutinized some of them. And the prices were sometimes reasonable and sometimes already extreme. But by the time a couple hours later, by the time we ended that stream this afternoon, and then some time had passed and these things started to end, again, when Clover went live to cork them, bam, they really went up. Like some of them crazy. And then others, like I thought that Yellow Boy was going to go for a lot of money. It went for $6,000. I think that was a massive deal. Unless I'm wrong and I'm thinking of a different gun. That's definitely a 5-digit gun, I think. But anyway, did anybody else, barbecues in here, anybody else out there see it? I might just be talking about something that y'all seen.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good stuff there, and I agree. I thought that if that Yellow Boy went for $6,000, I think that's a heck of a deal. Was that? Do you know if that was the 1866 model, or I don't remember?
No, I don't remember. Just the Yellow Boy. How much of it? Was there anything else you were paying attention to, or whatever? Did you watch a bunch of it?
Yeah, I was in there.
It took like 2 hours or something. It took all of match. It took the chat that Clover corked, right? Like the whole time that Clover was corking them, they were bidding, right? And some of them were ending, but quite a few of them were just kind of keep bidding. And then when Clover, not Quark, but when Clover was done corking the thing, Matt went live and it was all of Matt's chat, I think. Just about all of Matt's chat. No, it might have even been all of Matt's chat. And then I watched like the last kind of 5 kind of juggle at the end there. So it would have taken like, I don't know, 2+ hours to actually watch it. Just from 6 o'clock, right? It would have taken 2 hours just to watch the auctioning. Really fun. Like even without a skin in the game. I didn't have anything. I was only barely slightly interested in a couple of things. Super fun just watching those things like some kind of crazy popcorn or something. Like some of them would crap out, some would pop right out of the thing, and then some of them just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Knives just leaving. Good night. So that means we can break out the chocolate. Got this new thing where you take a bowl and you pour some chocolate onto the bowl or into the bowl, I guess, either way you want to do it. And then you let that chocolate harden, right? Then you fill that bowl. That chocolate, you just made a chocolate bowl, right? Because you just let that layer of chocolate harden on a bowl. Now you peel the plastic bowl or metal bowl out of there, and you just got this chocolate bowl now. You take that thing and you fill it with all kinds of chocolate chips and chocolate marshmallows and maybe some, let's take some, maybe M&Ms, but maybe something different. So whatever, your choice, right? And then you take, let's say a sheet of chocolate and you put it on the bottom of that or something. And then you put that out on the table, and then you pour hot chocolate on that when you're going to eat it, and then it melts all that chocolate into whatever the hell you had in the middle of all that onto the bottom piece of chocolate, and then you take that and you eat it. But you wait till Mr. Knives goes to sleep, otherwise you wouldn't get much. Anybody ever eat anything like that?
I have not. I'm not a big chocolate guy. Like just how many times you said chocolate just made me go, ugh.
You can still be here, but you're weird. So that was something, what I just described there, I'd never seen before until the internet. So it might be fake internet food, or it might be some like Japanese thing or French thing. I don't know. Would you eat that? Something like that happen?
I would 100% eat that.
It might not have been hot chocolate. It might have been hot chocolate, like whatever they call that hot sauce that they put on ice cream that's hot. Hot syrup or whatever it's called. I don't really ever get it.
Have you ever had chocolate covered bacon?
Once.
No.
It's amazing.
I hate to admit it, but it is.
I can imagine it'd be right. Here's the thing, though. Not all bacon's that good. I'm going to say it right now. I've been to these places.
Oh, for sure.
I've been to a place called, I think it's called Oink or something stupid like that, right? And it's all bacon place or whatever. So it took the place of, like, let's say a Chili. So it's in that kind of a restaurant. And I went there with somebody for like a lunch or something. like a business lunch one time, and then another time with family for like a late breakfast on a weekend. And one of the times, I forget now because it wasn't a great. Both the times the food wasn't. I didn't think it was that good. It was kind of cold and like they know that they're serving it to people that are there to talk to their friends, and it's just something to do, whatever. But it that's what it felt like, bar food or something. But the one time they got the piece of wood with like, I don't know, 5 or 6 kind of pieces of bacon on it. Have you ever had that? Like, it's just like a taster's thing of bacon. Anyway, so I don't even know what they are because I wasn't really paying attention because they didn't seem that appealing. They seemed all gooped up. Yeah, and that gooped up bacon with maple or whatever, syrup, something, I didn't like that at all. I wasn't interested. So I don't know. I think chocolate would be all right, but are you talking like a sweet Hershey's chocolate or some kind of crazy, snooty, unsweet dark chocolate or something?
My first answer would be yes to all the above because unlike barbecue, I don't meet chocolates that I don't like very often.
Now, I would try a thing like of that piece of wood with 5 or 6 pieces of different kind of chocolate bacon instead of like, let's try to impress you with like spraying garlic on it or.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
It's like, come on, it's bacon. Cut it thicker. If you don't like the way it is, cut it thicker. Or shut up or something. But like, don't put perfume on it or like, hickory. The hell, it's bacon. You don't need to put fake wood sauce on it. What the hell chemical is that? Blech.
I actually think I'm developing an allergy to chocolate. The last several times that I've had it, I get like this really bad burning sensation in the back of my throat.
Weird. Super weird. It's probably the opposite. It's probably your body recognizing that you don't need enough of it and like starving for it, right?
I'm with G.
Here's the thing. With as much chocolate as Mr. Knives eats, I would not make out with Mr. Knives. You're in that kind of situation. Just saying it. All right, we got 10 people out there, and now we conned Woods into jumping in by throwing the link out.
Yeah.
Pretty good conversation with Bob there until he reached his allotment of time he's allowed to be on the internet as a Canadian.
Oh, he had to go get that crappy Canadian bacon.
Which is just ham, let's be honest.
Ham.
It is.
You looked it up one night, G. It has like
thinly sliced ham.
Wasn't it originally English or something?
What?
Wasn't Canadian bacon originally like an English thing or something? You looked it up one night.
If I did, I do not remember. At least it's not coming to mind. Now I'm wondering, I've seen jerkies before that claim to be like this or that or the other exotic meats or game meats or whatever. But if you have, I'm sure you've seen them, right? Like when you pick them up and look at them, they're like 50% cow or sometimes even more, 60, 70% cow.
Right.
And then you add the essence of whatever critter they're acting like it is. So that's why I'm wondering, I don't think I've ever seen like a elk, because I will look for something like an elk or a bison or sometimes venison, because down here you don't see venison. It's not like back east where they're corn fed and all that. So I just don't think I've ever seen that kind of jerky. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I've had the beefalo bacon where they're bison, but they're little bit cows because it just makes them a little tamer. And when I was in grad school outside of Spokane, they've got huge herds of them.
Do they call them something different than bison, or do they just?
They call them bison, but they're technically not bison because they're just not as aggressive. Because you can't put up a fence they're going to keep bison in.
I know that's the new thing is bison were just like, they look kind of like cow from the outside. You think, oh, that's a cow or whatever. But I forget, when I was younger, I was doing something and they were talking about, we were probably building fences or something. And they were talking about how high critters can jump. And a buffalo can jump like 12 foot straight up. Like some crazy like that. Because
if they don't just knock it over at a sheer badass.
If they have to. Yeah, exactly. If they have to, kind of thing. But yeah, or I guess they can jump a 12-foot fence. But I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never seen one do it. I think one time we seen one jump something and we were all pretty freaked because it definitely did it with ease. Like it didn't even hardly bother to look to the other side. It just kind of jumped over this fence because it's in its backyard. So it just jumped over this fence like you'd skip over your own fence around the yard or something.
Yeah, like you jumping over a curb or something.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, any other topics or anything? We're an hour in.
How did that? Tell me more about that auction. Unfortunately, when you were watching that, I was still at work.
Oh, I hear that. Yeah, and that's one thing I wonder if they've dealt with that before. I know that I think normally it's 14 years now. I've only been aware of it for the last couple because of them and their podcast and everything. But I mean, I may have seen, I've definitely seen flyers for it, but I never paid any attention because it's in Phoenix and I don't do auctions that often, if ever. So I know that normally, though, or I think normally, from what they've said and stuff in the past, it's people show up there. You know, Phoenix isn't little, so they get quite a few people show up, and I know that they bought a much larger facility simply so that they could have seating for all these people that show up. And their other place wasn't little; it was actually pretty big, but it wasn't big enough. You know, they were outgrowing it, and I imagine that brings more people to bring more stuff. So that brings even more crowd, right? But this year, obviously, blah, 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 and they had to do it all online. So I think you have a certain amount of people that were watching it online anyway and bidding against the people that were there or with or whatever you want to call it. But now this year you had those people, whatever more, because of it's a weird year and it's an opportunity, you know, to get something that a store might not have. And then all the people that would would have normally been sitting there on their butts at the place. They probably had to jump up online, you know, and a certain number of them are gonna. So anyway, it was pretty interesting. I was just saying, I looked at it 2 hours before and we were examining prices and I guess like a bunch of dumbasses because of course it had 2 more hours to go. Who knows what their prices were going to end up. But pretty much it was interesting because I was amazed. I was trying to film it for a little while, but I was in the chat with Matt while it was happening. But you know, you'd see something get down to 4 seconds and then get another bid. And usually the bids were $20. So it wasn't like, you know, $1,000 and then it was 2,000 and then it was 3,000. But, you know, incrementally they were still getting a bid. And then the timer would move from whatever it was, like down to 10 seconds or something. And then it would go back to 2 minutes. And that would, with their software, that would scoot it to the auctions that were ending, you know, somewhere around 2 minutes instead of the ones that were imminently ending. So you could just sit there and kind of watch the end where they were, you know, dwindling in time as, you know, kind of move to the left, let's say. And then as it hit its end point, if no one was bidding at the last moments, then you'd kind of see it fade out or kind of disappear. It would take a moment or two to let you sink in case you know, I'm sure in case you weren't looking at the screen, it didn't happen so fast that you'd miss them. So it kind of hesitate there and then disappear. So they kind of drop off as they were actually ending or not being bid on anymore. But quite a few of them, like I say, they're almost like ping pong balls in some kind of a bingo machine or something. Like they would get to the end, they would get to seconds left, boom, 2 more minutes. And again, sometimes just $20. I wasn't really paying attention to the price as much as the time because it's just too much numbers to keep track of. I'm not that kind of person. I can just see that many numbers, keep track of them. So it was definitely interesting though to see. And then I recognize the guns more than anything else, you know, seeing like a Colt bounce, you know, not end as guns that were 6 or 8 away from it came and went. You know, this Colt bounce, because people keep throwing $20 at it. And it's actually pretty neat because think about it. I don't know if you've ever gone to auctions before.
No.
Like in real life?
No. I did want it, but it wasn't like for guns.
Well, yeah, whatever. I mean, just a real auction though, with like an auctioneer and those other people bid. It's like a whole what's that word? Like there's the whole thing that happens there. It's just super fun. Definitely when you're bidding, but even just for people that aren't. But when you're bidding, I don't know, barbecue, ever been to auctions? You go to auctions ever?
Yeah.
You know, like you it's $5 and it's like you've already theoretically you've bid whatever your budget is. Let's say you want to spend $30 on this and it gets to 25 and you're like, there's my $30 bid. But then the fucker bids it again. Now it's going to be 25 or 35 to you because it's going up 2.5 a piece or whatever, you know, just whatever the fuck numbers. But you're like, well, what the fuck? I was already in for 30. I might as well be in for 35. And then it comes back to you again because that fucker bid it up. and now it's back to you for 40. And you're like, dang, I'd set that number at 30, but damn it, I know this son of a bitch is going to end now. Plus, if he doesn't, fuck him. I'm going to charge him another $5, right? So 40, 45 to you. Like, fuck. And you know what I mean? And then at some point, you're like, all right, this is way too much. And every once in a while, you can have some super fun and get it to like 90 and then duck out. And the fucker has to buy it for 95 or something when you were only going to spend 30, but he took it away from you. Anyway, there are weird shit like that. But I'm just thinking, I don't know how much of that was happening because you don't know who people are that are bidding against you. But there's definitely like that. Well, I've already got theoretically 225. What's 230? Somebody's going to stop bidding here. And I'm guessing that had to happen because some of these things went high, like really high.
I did that to a guy on eBay the other day. I just posted that video on my Model 68 Winchester today. And the butt plate that I was bidding on the first time, I put in a max bid of like $20, got outbid. So there's like a minute left. So I'm just doing scrambling bids because I keep getting outbid. And it's up to like $40 now. And I'm like, I bet this guy went to 50. So I put it in for like a $48 bid and it outbids me and it makes the bid $50. I was like, yeah, this guy thought he was going to get it for 20. Now I got him all the way up to 50. I guess my job's done. Then I went and found another one for $20.
You kind of have to also because, well, when I was doing school auctions, that would be, I feel like I could talk about this now. It's been a while and I don't do it this way anymore. But they would do an auction, I think every quarter, not quite, every month, not every few months they would do this. They would get enough stuff. It had more to do with how full the garage was than any other thing. So it came out to every couple of months is the frequency of it. And this is back when we were working at AOL. And we would know about, and we could do whatever we wanted. So at work, we could just leave and stuff like that. So we didn't have schedules or anything like that. So we'd know when these things were happening. We'd take the day off and go. And basically the U of A is like, I'm done with this. Get it away from me. And at the time, they would pull a hard drive and throw it into a pallet. And it would have been like the newest computer in the world or some of the first computers that ever went online, literally, because U of A was some of the computer, some of the labs that helped build that crap. And that kind of stuff would be on pallets. I have an Apple II that's signed by Steve Wozniak that I got for $1 in a pallet of crap, right? We'd go to these things whenever they'd happen. And then as they evolved, they would happen on more and more frequency. And we would be competing with, and we would buy this stuff and sell it on eBay, or we would buy this stuff and just have it because what the hell, I have an Apple II signed by Steve Wozniak that I paid $1 for. Are you kidding me? So, you know what I'm saying? Like we would just find amazing stuff there and then make a lot of money selling it on eBay. And then there was other people doing the same thing, but we also were in competition with a whole bunch of motherfuckers that were from Mexico, and they'd come up and like supply a school. You know what I mean? Like they're doing it for legit reasons. So yeah, they're bidding against us. And sometimes it was like frustrating, but it'd be like, do I need another pallet of computers or should that school in Mexico have them? Like, let's let the school have these for $4 or whatever. Like I don't need another pallet of these things. So every once in a while I didn't mind losing a bid, but there was other guys that were just a-holes. They were going to scrap it all for gold or something, or they were going to, who knows what, they were just jerks about it. Impolite and just not fun to barter with her. So some of those times you knew that like for a while there, let's say pallets of, usually this was pallets. You'd get like pallets of monitors or pallets of printers or pallets of whatever era of computer it was, right? Some kind of computer, pallets of hard drive or something like that, pallets of mice. Because this is departments of U of A, I guess. I have no idea where they come from. There's just pallets and pallets of stuff. And let's say there's 12 pallets of computers. Well, whoever it is doesn't need 12 pallets. Like almost nobody needs 12 pallets. So somebody is going to need 5 or 4, but not that many people are going to need everything that was there for some of these big time. But here's the thing. If we wanted one because it had an amazing item on it and we knew what we were looking for and we knew how to run this thing, how the game was played or what, like we would do things like bid really heavy on the pallets we knew we didn't want, knowing that effer was going to bid against us because he had an unlimited budget, right? And then, walk away in the middle pallet so that his budget is half gone and then casually pick up that last one for $5 because he thinks we didn't care, or he thinks we're about to bid war him again and he's going to get us by not playing it. You know, so we had all these little games we would do, or we would just throw a couple of bucks on all this heavy stuff, knowing that we'd fill the guy's truck because we knew that guy and he didn't have any help that week. So if we gave him enough heavy stuff, then all the stuff in the back was ours. So we'd sometimes play games like that where, you know, we'd play around, and it helped to have more than one person, you know, bidding. They didn't, you know, we weren't together, but we were, you know, because they were doing the same thing. They would team up. A lot of fun back in the day. Sort of like that. I've seen the show. You ever seen that show about the storage wars?
Yeah, my brother do that.
I never really did storage lockers, but twice maybe, and it wasn't like the show, but how the show has those people that all kind of know each other and they're dicks to each other. It was, yeah, I like that part of the show because it was a lot like that. I'm sure a lot of things are like that, but we definitely dealt with that kind of shit.
Yeah, I've done one of the auctions that's similar where I went to grad school. They would have their auctions that was the facilities auctions. So it was tools and like anything a college would need. Like, I'm sure there was computers, but I wasn't into them. So, but I got some really nice stuff for pretty cheap.
Oh man.
Like that.
I'm going to go back to that, but Pink is saying I'm probably going to pass on the SVT. I already got one, but I want that sniper. Get the sniper, but I know I would get the SVT also. Here's why. I have seen many SVTs before I appreciated them, and then also after I appreciated them. Like, well, you know, since before I even knew what they were, and then once I appreciated them, I've also got to see them. And I don't think I've ever seen two of them that are the same. Like, those are the most interesting, unique guns, and I don't just because there's not that many of them, and so many of them got here in so many different ways that I wouldn't pass on it. Is all I'm saying. Don't rule it out unless it's just insane. And I guess I'm preaching to the choir. You're going to grab it if it's cheap, but I would at least eyeball it really good because I don't know. There's some really neat ones, and if you carved one of them, you know, everybody else thinks it's just a plain one, and you grabbed a unique one or something. Holy crap! That was a massive yawn. So I guess that has to be. How weird is that? Oh, I thought that was 1 1 1 1 1 all the way across, but it was 1 1 8. And ones all the way across. But that was the first yawn at a bunch of ones. We were going to go back to the hell were you just talking about?
Auctions?
Yeah, going. I forgot what I was going to go back to. Well, I guess you were just saying, get nice stuff at school auctions.
Yeah.
I say schools are crazy, yeah. So if they don't, I think it's also, at least for me, I don't know if schools that you've dealt with are like this, but in my experience with bureaucracy and government, it's like if you got a budget of $10,000 this year, but you only use $8,000, at the end of the year, you're buying anything you can to cost $2,300 so that it looks like you needed more, so that next year you might get more, as opposed to like, oh look, I get an award for only using 8, and because of that, I'm guessing the schools are just like, get rid of these computers because otherwise we'll never get new ones next year. And because they're throwing away stuff that's perfectly good. And I can't imagine why they wouldn't just shove it to another department or something, you know, like, oh, your computers are getting dusty or dirty because you're dealing with rocks. Take our math department ones. Instead, we would have like a pallet of math department ones and a pallet of dusty geology ones.
So that was when I was a young college kid, and I could outfit my whole house for pretty cheap. About all kinds of stuff, end tables and stuff that you wouldn't think would necessarily be part of a college, but I think it was like the extra dorm rooms. Like maybe they upgraded the dorms and then they ripped out all the end tables.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. I've seen that kind of stuff too. I just assumed it was like waiting rooms or lobbies or something, but yeah, you're right. And I'll bet you, yeah, exactly. Or like, I don't know, like, yeah, somebody breaks one or something and they got to do something like that.
I bought a crap ton of hotel pans once, and I just use them to like clean parts and stuff because, you know.
You mean those like rectangle things for food?
Yeah, rectangle thing is for food. They're aluminum, so you can put solvent in and it doesn't like mess them up. But if you screw them up, you don't really care because you paid $1.
Probably stainless though, aluminum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Those things are super nice. And paying for them real, I don't know, probably $30 a pan or something stupid, like $20 a pan.
Yeah, easy.
That way, $1 or something. Yeah. I've been doing the printing and stuff, right? So I grabbed a couple of, I guess I bought a couple of the, I don't know what to call them, like things that are just like a whole bunch of paper holders, like shelves, I guess, like for organizing mail, basically. I think what they're for originally, like on a desk or maybe papers or something. Anyway, you can put like a whole stack of papers on each shelf or whatever. Anyway, you can buy those things made out of plastic, or you can get them like the old-fashioned 50s ones made out of metal. Yeah, I don't know how much those metal ones would cost at the store, but just shipping them from China and building them and putting all the middleman and the marketing on it, right? I buy them for $1. Like, there's no way I'm getting those metal ones for $1 at a regular store.
Yeah, I bought one of those that's it was really nice wood. It had like 30 different slots. And really, when it's in a classroom, you use it for like when you have to send home like the newsletter or whatever, and you teach the kids, okay, this is your little slot, and every day you need to put, if you put their papers that you graded or whatever, so then they just go pick them up and take them home.
Yeah, like their clubby or whatever. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I've had that since I started teaching. I still have it. It's in my room now.
I was at a regular thrift store one time and found it would have been like, let's say something that Radar would have in MASH, right? Like, for like an office. And I'm thinking like Korea War era, maybe World War II, but I'm thinking a little bit later than that. And it was green canvas and metal. That's why I think it wasn't World War II, maybe aluminum even, but it was still canvas, I think, not nylon yet. So I don't think it was Vietnam. Anyway, it was a thing for like a mail room, or I think they might even have one now that I'm thinking about it. We know how, I'm talking about MASH, right? And Radar, that room that Radar.
Yeah.
He lived in that room even. And as you were going into the boss's room, those double doors or whatever, wasn't there like a thing for sorting mail right there? Like
right next to him, yeah.
Dude, it might have been that exact thing. I seen one of them. I never even put two and two together until I was trying to explain it. But basically like a thing of like shoebox size cubby holes that's, I don't know, 10 by 5 or 7 or something, like a lot. But you could set it on a desk or whatever. But it would like fold like one of them camp chairs or something. Like it kind of accordion folded up. You could tell for getting the hell out of Dodge. But then when you needed to, it would open back up and be sturdy. I mean, it wouldn't fold away into nothing because it was green canvas and metal, but it would definitely fold down and not be obnoxious. Anyway, I forget what they wanted. They wanted more than I was about to spend. I probably would have gone as much as like $50 or something. I'm pretty cheap. I think they wanted like 200 or something insane for something that isn't going to last that long. It's amazing looking, but it's as soon as you actually put it out somewhere where sun and UV can get it, it's going to fall apart. It's too old. Wasn't wire mesh. The one I seen, I don't think so. I could see him making one out of that though.
Speaking of MASH, that Gary Berghoff, the guy that played MASH, is one of the only characters is in the movie and the TV show.
The other one? Wait, is there another one? I was thinking one.
Huh? The nurse Hot Lips? Wasn't she in both?
No, it was definitely a different. She might have been in both, but she didn't play the same role in both.
The only thing I can also remember is Gary Berghoff cannot move his right hand. He could like put a pencil or something in it, but he can't do anything with it. So if you really watch closely, he'd never, like, even if he's typing, he's only using his left hand.
Oh, I didn't know that. There is, I guess, only one. Well, there's one, and then there's technically a Brigadier General Hammond. Who cares? That's a guest role or whatever, not the actual guy.
Yeah, I love that show.
I don't know. I like the movie, and I remember liking the show, and then I think the show is responsible for me maturing to the part where I was like, I'm not watching this effing show anymore. You know what it was? There's an episode where they're throwing legs in the water. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like a dream or something. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done watching this show. I'm done. Like, it's where it went woke or whatever. jumped the woke for me. And I was like, I'm sick of getting preached to. I was a little kid and I was like, nope. I'm watching this to watch World War II, or I guess Korean War stuff. You know, I'm watching for the helicopter or for that kind of shit. And I'm like, what am I watching? I was like, this is stuff for like adults. Like, I don't know what they're trying to say, but I don't want to be trying to figure out my TV. You know, I was at whatever age I was like, I'm done. I guess it took me that long to figure out it wasn't going to be like war movies. And I don't know if I'm trying to remember how old I was, but I probably would have been satisfied with like every once in a while they do shoot a gun, you know, like I'm trying to remember anymore. But every once in a while, like a Jeep would flip over and they'd have to shoot or something. And that must have been like enough, like a Long Ranger show for me to be like, okay, I like MASH. Like I say, whenever they got to where Alan, I think it was when Alan Alda sort of took over, right? It was like his show then. And I think he started directing, and it was like he was super proud of it. And it started getting to like preach or teach lessons or whatever it was trying to do. And I was like, I'm going to go play Hot Wheels or something. Like I remember making the decision. That was one of the first times I ever decided, you know what? I don't have to watch TV. I'm going to go do something else and not watch TV. Sort of like, F you, Alan Alda. Like, I don't want to watch this no more. And that was one of the first TV shows that ever made me get the hell up off the floor. Because at that point, I remember I would watch TV with Hot Wheels in my hands. Like, everything I watched, I was playing the cars on the floor. That's all you could do. I don't know what else there was to do when I was that age. Take a bath and brush my teeth. So playing with Hot Wheels was pretty much it.
Well, whatever you did, you could do it on the floor if you didn't bother the adults.
Well, and also you couldn't, it's not like, I'm going to go play Hot Wheels outside. Like, no, you're not. You're going to be changing the channel. So you can do whatever it is quietly right near the channel changer, right? At least for me. If it was the time of night when it was going to be everybody changing the channels.
I think I had to watch it because we only had the one TV and that my parents liked it. But I do like the fact that it was very different than all the other shows, and I'm always a big fan of like an original idea. Like everything else was like Three's Company and fucking sitcoms and crap like that.
Oh yeah, I hear you there. Well, I mean, it was, yeah, I hear you. It was definitely like a sitcom though. It wasn't, I don't know, I'm trying to think like there wasn't really any other, no, you know what, there was like Baba Black Sheep. Remember that show? We were, I think, seeing reruns of it. I don't think we seen the real. But you know, I would have watched that any day, ever, always watch that over MASH. You know, because that was what I'm looking for in a World War II show or whatever.
Well, there was also like Emergency and Adam 12.
No, for some reason, no. That was, but like it ended or something by the time. Because if that would have been an option, everybody I know would have been watching Emergency. We watched the shit out. We had ambulances, dude. We watched the shit out of Emergency. I think that was way earlier. No, wait a minute. MASH was on forever. What am I saying? I think it was just on a different day.
Yeah, it's probably a different day because remember you could only watch the show you really liked on a particular day at a particular time. There was no other way to watch it.
Yeah, and that was like Coke and Pepsi. You didn't go to the store and be like, I'll have a Coke and a Pepsi. You fucking chose one. So I watched MASH, and that means I didn't watch whatever was otherwise on, which I guess I don't even know what the other shows were. How would you know? You were watching MASH. I bet you they didn't even put nothing up against MASH. They probably just had that little dot that happens when you turn off the station, like when MASH was on. Because it dominated everything. Yeah, exactly.
We're old enough to remember when at midnight when the TV turned off. There's just nothing else.
I went and started traveling when I was, let's say, whenever, I don't care what year it was, it doesn't matter. Whenever I first started traveling on my own, right? And out of high school and everything, right? Out of the military and everything. I keep saying the fucking military, out of the fucking army, fucking military. And then traveling around on my own, and I go to fucking middle of nowhere, Wyoming, and the fucking TV shuts off and the fucking radio shuts off. Now, I had experienced TVs and shit shutting off before. It's not like the first time I had ever seen it, but it was the first time I ever seen it in the fucking 90s. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, what the hell? This is the 1990s. It's about to be the year 2000. And there's a freaking radio station that shuts off. Like, I can almost understand a television station in the middle of nowhere. But a radio station? Like, what the fuck? I guess it's because they shut off and then the little ones shut off and then big ones get bigger, is what I learned. So at least back in the day, there was a certain number of AM stations that would turn up their bandwidth or whatever, volume, power at night, and they had a separate license or something that all these little ones would shut down, and then you'd either have to move your antenna or have a second antenna and do a little dance and then listen to a bigger, different channel, which often came in way better. Like I wasn't complaining. That's when I started listening to Art Bell. Like I was like, oh crap. Because where I grew up, it was like a million channels always, like no matter what time of day or night, like always there was just like at least a religious, at least a Western or two, right? Like at least a rock and roll or two, maybe other stuff. There was a world station or something. Like there was, stuff was all over the place. Hogan's Heroes. That was a little before me. I watched the shit out of it. I'm sure I've seen everyone. It was a little too campy. Like even when I was a little kid, I knew what was coming. If it would have been a little more tunnels and improvised gadgets and schemes and like doing all kinds of, they did, I guess, operations. They did some neat stuff because that was where the CIA and all the spies and shit, everybody cool comes from. All the special operations come from what those motherfucking old bastards figured out when the Nazis were trying to kill them. I'd say locked in my room 24/7 because you're a bad kid or had bad parents. Oh, here, let me throw a link back out there if I jump in. I don't know how late it is. I guess we start at midnight, so it has to be an hour past midnight, an hour plus. Feel free to jump in if you want, though. What do you got tomorrow? I haven't even looked. I saw you had Argo on today, and I think I went live right in the middle. I think I corked the shit out of you today. So I'm going to still go back and watch that one. Because Argo's usually got something interesting. I'm guessing he was talking about the movie. I don't see one. Did you watch it?
I got through about half of it. Then the thing for Clover Tech's premiere popped up, and I went to swipe it away. I ended up clicking on it, and then I couldn't find the rest of it. So I'm hoping it pops up a little bit later. I'll be able to watch the other half of the stuff with Argo.
You got double for it. So yeah, I don't see one coming up, but yeah, thanks for doing the consistent podcast. Let's see, Hogan's Heroes, that one. Wait, did we? I guess I missed this one. In Europe, Colonel Potter and Colonel Blake had a Steve voice dubbed in. Really? I wonder why. Yeah, we had channels as I was growing up that were the UHF channels. There was like, well, I don't know how many there were. There had to be a few extra that I don't even know about, but there was like almost always a religious one that was playing church all day long on UHF, and maybe more than one. It kind of depends on where your antenna was pointing and what you were bringing in and what the clouds were doing. UHF was fun. And then you had, man, was there a sports one or am I crazy? There might have been something that was like sports quite often. I don't know if it was 24/7. It certainly wasn't 24/7, but it might have been sports and then like Three Stooges the rest of the time or some shit like that. But like cheap reruns, like that they could afford to just put on because the sports paid for the channel or something. And then the one that was like movies and TV shows and reruns and cartoons and shit, the fun ones. And there was sometimes two of those, and I don't know what the hell. I don't really pay attention, but there was, what the cause of that was. If it was just population growth or something about the economy, I was too little. But I remember for a while there was just one, and then I think there was two. And by that time, I don't know. It was kind of like what they were talking about earlier. Was it Hanna-Barbera or Warner Brothers? Like they were both cartoons. It's like you might like some of one better and some of the other better, but it didn't really matter what channel it was on. Like you're gonna have see cartoons, so nobody's really complaining. Technically, if you're one of them kids, you'd figure out when to jump back and forth and watch just the good stuff or just the boy stuff instead of like all the girl cartoons. But again, it's all cartoons. Or movies or whatever. And that's when all the cool Godzilla shit would be on. So I'm guessing that's what you mean. I think it was 17 UHF. I guess it would have been. Everything over 13 was UHF. Huh? Ours were way higher numbers though. So I don't remember what 17 was.
Yeah, ours was 22, and it was the first time I ever saw Dragnet. That's the best show. Still watch it.
And then there'd be the weirdest shit. Like if you got up really early, the regular channels that would be like the normal CBS, NBC, and ABC, I guess, back in the day, you'd have those three and then like PBS. And then maybe you had other
You mean like a
UHF.
local, because we had like Channel 11 was the local.
Not until I was in
It
high
wasn't
school.
affiliated with the others too. Then
Not
we
until,
got 13, Fox.
not until almost high school did Fox come along. At first,
Yeah.
there was those three and PBS. When I was growing up, it was just three and PBS. And then UHF. So I don't know what the hell where Fox might have been on UHF, I guess. But again, it was just cartoons and reruns. There was no programming on Fox back then.
Fox
Or at
was
least-
regular broadcast, wasn't it? Because Fox was 13 for us.
Well, that's what I mean. So yeah, it was a different situation, I guess. Because no, we just had ABC, CBS, and ABC, and then PBS for the longest time. And then, like I say, at some point you got Fox, and that's where you got The Simpsons and shit. And then boom, all of a sudden it went from like, what do you mean another network? We don't need another channel. Like who'd ask for another channel? What do you mean The Simpsons? All of a sudden it's legit. And yeah, we have 4 channels. What are you talking about? And then immediately after that, it was cable though. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
already at that point, people had weird pre-cable situations going on and satellite kind of weird shit. All kinds of weird stuff happened there for maybe 3 or 5 years where people would have like, what do they call it? Pay TV, I guess, or pace. I don't know. Yeah, there's some other terms for it. But I guess what I'm saying is I don't remember until like, I don't know. Well, yeah, it wasn't until like, what was the name of that show with the guy with his hands in his pants and the wife, Al Bundy?
Yeah.
Married with No Children. That was all Fox and stuff. Like all that stuff didn't happen until later for me at least. OSU was on UHF. They always had country music shows on, and the Olds flat top guitar where they would wiggle a thing and the strings would reverb. Yeah, and then like, well, for us it was PBS would hit. I think it was maybe it was another channel. Where the hell? My grandma used to watch Lawrence Welk and all kinds of country shit. My grandpa would watch country shit. My grandma would watch Lawrence Welk.
I remember that.
And you're like, damn it. Like, basically, there's no point watching TV on Sunday. Or at least I didn't know what TV was on Sunday until they would relinquish it to me to watch Omaha, like Mutual of Omaha, which was amazing. And then sometimes Disney, right? Because they kind of felt obligated after ruining your whole life, making you watch Lawrence Welk country music all day.
Wild Kingdom and then Disney, yes. That was Sundays, right?
Yeah, Sunday nights. And I can't remember if they were in that order or some shit. I think it was like that. I think it was Wild Kingdom and then Disney, because if you were bad, you got to watch the animals and then you went to bed. It's like,
right.
Or once in a while, I can remember being like, oh, yeah, that was awesome. Especially that one guy who dug a hole and would hang out next to the guy with the beard. It was like the old guy who did, like, this is an animal you can hunt. And here's another animal you can fish. And here's an animal you can kill. And here's one that normally I'm going to spear. And then the other guy would be like, here's a fox or a bear or like, you know, a normal animal or just some worm or whatever. Like you actually cared about nature, it seemed like. Anyway, so there'd be like those kind of shows. And then you'd be like, and now we're going to have Cinderella or some like dumbass shit. Like, damn it. You know, it's like you ruined my whole Sunday, Disney. What the hell? Girls don't need to watch TV. OSU's on UHF. Oh, yeah, that's all right. Well, so hour and a half in, we're down to 8, and it's all about the ratings here. If we don't have ratings, we immediately mope up, get the hell out of here. Plus, we're talking about media, and that's supposed to be strict regimen. We talk about that on Wednesdays. But anyway, any other? Oh, we were trying to talk about the auction a little bit. I also went live another time today, didn't I? Let's see. I went live for the auction. And then, oh yeah, I went live to film the 50 BMG collection earlier. And then I deleted the comment. Damn it. What did the guy say? Some guy made the weirdest comment at me for the 50 BMG video, but I deleted his channel. Blocked his channel, so I don't think I'll ever see the comment again. Oh, Sunday said a $6 million man. I did watch it. Had a $6 million man doll that you could see through his eye. But I had the robot dude, the android that came with him, where you could roll up his skin and see his robot arm underneath. And you could think like you could see through his eye also. So I enjoyed that one better than the $6 million man doll. But I hated them things. They were like Barbie dolls, and they were the only things I had that were that size. So I did nothing with them. I like picked him up and looked through his eye one time. And I think I rolled up the guy's skin a couple of times to make sure he's still a robot. Did you ever have any of them?
Yeah. I'm thinking the $6 million man, but I just made my Stretch Armstrong beat him up a lot.
Oh. Yeah, I had the Stretch Armstrong way later than that, though. I'm wondering when you had your dolls phase now. You're way younger than me?
I'll be 50 in May.
No, then I'm older than you. So that's weird. Because I thought maybe I didn't get a Stretch Armstrong till way later.
I had the lobster one. I was younger than 10. I know that.
Oh, so maybe Stretch Armstrong's just way older than I know, and I didn't have a Stretch Armstrong until I was in junior high or some shit. And I don't even know how to do it. I think I got a Stretch Armstrong because like some aunt didn't know how old I was or something, and was like, "Who's a doll?" I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" So we basically threw it at stuff until it broke. And
but then you cut it open and find out what's in it.
Well, that's what we did. We kept, and maybe we were winging it up into the air until it would come down and break. Because that's kind of shit you do. And I think it was a bunch of sand or something in it, right?
Yeah, there's some like I don't remember.
I think it was definitely or something. It was not interesting. Like whenever it actually broke, it just sort of oozed out, and we were like, it didn't pop or squirt or nothing. It just like, oh, now it's broken. And it was basically the same. Like the rubber is so strong and everything that there wasn't really that big a difference when I guess it didn't rip by having the crap inside of it. But like there just wasn't that big a difference. It still was stretchy and it still basically looked the same from what I remember. It just had a crack in it and it was all gross. Yeah, was it oil or sand or something? I'm 55 and Stretch Armstrong, I was a bit too old. But anyway, yeah, I only had one, like I say, sort of an accident or whatever. Anyway, so I was talking about my 50 BMG collection. Oh, and then the gun show this weekend had a. I guess I can. Do I have the pictures on here? I might have the pictures on the computer already, and if I do, I can show you what the gun show looked like. It was the largest gun show in Arizona, and that makes it the largest gun show this side of Tulsa each year, except for this year. Well, I guess probably this year too. Yeah, and it was pretty different. It was outside instead of inside. Nah, I don't have pictures over here. Can I get them from my phone while we're live? Is that a thing? If I can get some pictures here, I'll show them to you, but I'm not going to guarantee nothing. But anyway, so each of the vendors was in underneath of a pop-up shade roof thing, and no walls, but just roof. And I was trying to explain this earlier. You know how normally if you're inside of that, getting the effect of it, the shade or the rain cover or whatever it is, then you want it to be open inside. And you don't care where the guy lines are or the things that hold it down. And since it's being set up in a concrete parking lot, you kind of have to make sure that it's staked in super hard with stakes into the asphalt and everything, so it doesn't blow all around. So you have all these lines and wires and stuff everywhere to keep these tents up and not blown around. And then glare from the sun coming down, It's behind clouds sometimes. It's just out in the naked sky sometimes. Arizona sun blazing down at us. So you can't wear sunglasses or you can't read anything when it's, in any kind of shade or anything. And if you wear regular glasses, you're getting all the glare and non sunglasses situation. If you're on the south side of a tent, everything's either brightly lit and it's amazing, or getting super reflection from anything shiny or metal or plastic, any kind of wrappings or saran cling or something like that, just like a mirror. Any mirrors could, if anybody did have any mirrors out there. And then on the north side of a tent, the opposite. Everything's in the shade. Every time you stand up, you got your head in the sun. Now everything at your waist level is in the shade. It's ridiculous. People running back and forth in which way, people trying to get in underneath the guy lines that are holding the roof up, underneath the thing to put their head under so that they can get into the shade and get their eyes accustomed to the shade, whatever view, so that they can see whatever's on the table. And then, how long does it take you to recognize what's on a table? This is a table of swords. This is a table of books. This is a table of bullets. Like, you can tell pretty quick what you're looking at. And then decide whether to stick around or leave. And most of the time, it's like, this isn't what I'm looking for. So it's this whole procedure to get underneath of a tent and see what's the hell if it's something you want or not. Ugh. So everybody that I asked, I know a lot of people that go to these things. I asked them and they said, they had a decent show on Friday and it was super busy, very busy. And Saturday was not. And I was there early Sunday, the beginning of Sunday. It was sparse to say the least, put it nicely. And people still said they're making money on Sunday. They made money on Saturday and they made bank on Friday. So none of them were really complaining. None of the vendors I probably talked to, in counting like Arizona Citizens Defense League, they set up tents. They had 2 of them there. Both of them were sort of not in the middle of anything. One of them was literally way on the edge. I took a picture of it on Instagram earlier. Way on the edge. Well, I guess I could just go to Instagram. I've been looking for these damn pictures. I'll just go to Instagram and show you there. But not in the midst of the crowd or nothing. Anyway, I talked to people I talked to, and they all pretty much said, while it was a good show and everything, they do not want it to turn into that, become that kind of thing. So I think this will work. Does this work? So I usually do something to get into a show and always recommend that. If you can help out at a table, if you can help lug stuff, get there early and help them set up, tear down. So, be willing to stick around and help them tear down. It's often fun to be one of the last people at a gun show because there's people that don't shut down until the last possible moment. Some people can't, all kinds of reasons. And some of the best deals you ever get is when people are walking past you to get to their stupid car so that they can, not take full advantage of the thing they just paid to be at. It's amazing. But I normally do stuff like that so that I can get in for free because it was $20 effing. I get there on Sunday morning on a 3-day gun show. I'm there on the 3rd day. $20 full to get in. Drives me the wrong fucking way. $8 to park there. This picture got messed up. There's me driving up there. $8. You can barely see it over here. But first thing, you're welcome. Welcome to the gun show. Give me $8 to pull through into the parking lot. $8. Again, if you can help them set up, then you get there early, and these people haven't gotten to work yet. So you just drive in and park for free. Very used to doing that. One of the reasons I have the van is so I can drive up to Phoenix in the middle of the night, go park in this parking lot in the middle of the night. These people show up for work and start charging suckers $8, and I'm in here sleeping next to that Hertz van, right? Except this weekend, I pulled an all-nighter, and I couldn't get up there until I got there right about the time the show opened, so 9 a.m. Paid full $8 to get in. Breaks my first 20 and my heart. Having to pay $8 to fucking park. And drive 2 hours. So it costs like $50 worth of gas. It's a whole tank of gas to go up there and back. This is the line to get in. The first day, this was packed on both sides. And because of Corona can't pass fences or go across like this, everybody was safe. So packed line, standing room only the first day. Saturday, I guess it wasn't very big. And then Sunday, there wasn't a line. You just walked up to the front. You paid in this blue. I can't zoom in. Play on that blue area. and then walk in. This is an idea of what it looked like. So where we just walked in right here, where it says entrance right there and up in the air, that's right around here, right? Where it says, probably it says it right in front of this tent. You walk in. And then on this side, this little section sort of in the center of the picture here is actually the west end or the west side of the gun show. This is the good stuff. This is SAR. This is the small arms review portion. I don't think I posted a picture that shows it because it was too rectangle for Instagram. You can only post squares over there. It's against the law to post a rectangle. But the whole part that doesn't look so big is actually about 3 times the size, and it's behind it there. There's these 2 big tents that kind of obscure it, but this is a lot more smaller tents, just like this size that are, I don't know what that is, 10 foot by 10 foot probably. There's a shit ton of them. Over here, there's, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows. Over here, there's probably 20 rows and at least this deep, if not more, for most of it. So much, much bigger. And then in a second here, you'll see a video where there's all this stuff happening again. Oh, I can't post it. Now, normally, these 3 buildings would be gun show. This building would be gun show. That building in the back would be gun show. The center area that's sort of empty right now would have a couple of these tents, and there'd be some people outside, but like one of these little white tents over here. And then everybody else would be in these buildings. And then all this would just be effing parking, right? But this time, you can kind of get a better idea how many of them little tents are back there. Like right there, boom, it goes back. This whole parking lot that normally would be us parking to go into those buildings. You know, now that's where the show is. And then, by the way, that's Phoenix in the background. So the city of Phoenix is pretty big. I forget, 1 million something plus people. Is it 2 million? 1 million people, something like that. And this is just, if Phoenix is the center of a clock, this would be at like 10 o'clock, 10:30, not quite 11. It's coming out from the northwest of Phoenix. And then I'm standing in the bleachers for like this horse track race thing. And that weird looking building is a ice skating rink for some sort of sports. And then where this dirt track is, that's like horse racing for dirt, horseback riding, or whatever that's called. And then I just climb up here to get a good view. But all this whole fucking distance is where the vendors can park. And then you can't even see them, but this is where the whole gun show people have to park. So you get there, pay $8, and then you got to walk all the way the hell over here to pay $20 to walk. It took me 3 hours of walking around to walk 3 miles down there, walked every aisle. So you're going to pay $28 to walk in and walk 3 miles of the best 3 miles you'll ever walk. It's at a gun show. Most of it was in the shade, and I could have stopped. Oh, this whole area over here that looks empty is food trucks. So this whole like half moon shape thing over here is Ozzy out there barking at it because it's a half moon shape. Yes, right there. I could have gone over there and ate or whatever. I just didn't. But that was actually kind of neat. I mean, this whole thing, if it was in addition to the gun show, I'm down 100%. Give us the gun show and all this, yes. Just this? No. And the other thing is no wind, no rain, no really bad sun. That's the ice skating rink. And then what was the other thing I was thinking? We don't really get snow down here, but there was something else that I was thinking. We're not really dust. There was some other weather thing that I guess these tents would be susceptible to. Not to mention theft. I mean, it's just different for someone who's trying to manage their collection or stores property or somebody else's stuff, right? I help out, like I say, I try to get into gun shows whenever I can for free by helping people. I don't just go in there to scam them. I go in there to help the vendors do their thing, go to the bathroom or get something to eat, enjoy the show a little bit. How often do vendors get to walk around? Almost never. So think about it. Almost every one of these tents is an opportunity to get into that show for free because everybody who gets a table gets 2 tickets. And if you get 2 tables, you probably get 3 or 4 tickets. If you get 4 to 5 tables, they're giving you 2 tickets to get in, 2 seats at the gun show, 2 admission prices. for usually every table you buy. And some people sometimes buy 3 tables. So that would technically be 4, 5, 6 even people that they could bring in. And rarely do they bring in 2. Themselves and somebody else is more like it. Just, not normally people don't need that many people around, because it also means, you got to pay them or you owe them a favor. So if you just don't need them, you're not going to take advantage of it. Now, somebody who's doing ammo or cannons or something huge, they're going to need a bunch of people. Sometimes you're going to have people rotate in and out, like 2 or 3 staff, and it's just easier to give you passes for everybody, knowing that the worst that's going to happen is they're going to go look around the gun show, right? It lets you have more flexibility as a vendor to give you a couple of seats, passes to get in. So with that in mind, every one of these things is at least 2 tickets to get in, and they're probably all together using about half of the tickets that they're given. And that's why they give them so many, because they know they're not going to need them all. But again, you're not screwing nobody. You're not doing any loophole. You're just helping out a vendor to be able to go piss, get something to drink so that they got to go piss later, just enjoy the show, or just take a break. And especially at a show like this one where you're out in the sun, it might be appreciative to just go sit in your car with the radio on for a half an hour. If you know somebody you can trust is watching your table for you. Anyway, without going off too far on that, who knows who's watching these tables? And if that's the situation, you're watching a table as a favor to somebody, it's a pain in the ass to try to watch 180 degrees, or what am I trying to say, 360 degrees of somebody stealing shit. Somebody could walk up, grab something over here, walk up, knock something over. I mean, I don't have to tell a criminal how to be a criminal, but you got to imagine this is not conducive to people watching their shit as much as it is when everybody's back to back. In a typical gun show, you have 2 or 3 tables in front of you, and you're back to back with an ally, and he doesn't have to worry about you taking off of his table and vice versa. So you've only got to watch one direction. In this show, 360. Nobody brought that up to me, but just, as a person who does gun shows and stuff, it just seemed like a unnecessary situation that has no side benefit I'm not aware of any side benefit from that. I mean, if these things didn't have guy wires, if you could just walk up to these tables as little islands, that might be an interesting situation. So for certain things, huge, heavy, smelly, weird things that need to be outside or could be outside, dog stuff where it'd be cool to have like something going on, something you can throw in the air, drone or something. Yeah, throw the section like this outside in addition to what we got going on. But they're not like that. There's guide wires and shit, so it might look like a pleasant little place to hang out, but it's really just one of the reasons there's not, if there were more people, one of the reasons they wouldn't all be hanging out by the tables is because it's such a pain in the ass to walk around the damn wires everywhere. They're holding the roofs up. All right, I've been talking for like an hour. DJ jumped in, and Woods is in here. Knives is leaving again, or is this from an hour ago? Oh, I guess. Oh, we still don't have a chat for a while. So the last one was wheeled 15 minutes ago, so I've been ranting. I'm done. Where are we taking from there? Dead silence. Well, 2 hours for 2A. Anyone? Am I still alive? Am I still there?
I'm still here, but I'm about to head out, man.
Rolling once.
Okay. Okay, I can hear you now, Barbara. You saying something?
I was just going to play auctioneer, say going once, going twice for 2A. Sold. So I'm guessing the weather's actually pretty nice this time of year for the gun show then, right? Like not overly hot or anything?
No, it was, it wasn't hot, but it was bright. So, it wasn't overcast or gloomy like it might be on a fall or if this is winter, it wasn't like light out. It was certainly bright. So for certain things, like I say, that was great. Like, oh, I want to see the appearance of this. Like, you have the best lighting you can ever get, really. But other things, it was just like I bought a 50 BMG round that I thought was white. And I'm looking at it. I know what I'm looking at. I can understand colors. I've seen white a bunch of times in my life already, right? I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, wow, a white one. I check my phone, and on the phone, all I have is this gray one, this silver kind of color. And I'm like, God damn, this is the new one that I don't have yet, right? Buy the thing for an outrageous expensive price. I go home and it's the exact same gray color as I have. And, I'm saying like that had to be the sun. Like it looked different in real life with my eyes on the phone and in real life. And then when I get home, they're literally the exact same color. And I'm not blaming the phone, I'm blaming the sun for that. It's the sun's fault for that. I feel like the sun owes me the cost of that ammo. All right, well, but anyway, otherwise the weather was great. Yeah, didn't need a coat or nothing. Wasn't windy. Just super bright.
Is that one always outdoors, or is it just outdoors because of the whole COVID crap?
Yeah, like I was saying, it's normally inside these really big buildings, and the worst you have to worry about is either if it's super hot for some reason, which occasionally it can be super hot, or just gross. Like sometimes they smell like a bunch of dead critters or whatever. Not dead, but poop, critter poop or whatever, because they're the state fair things. So it's like some cow was in there getting judged, the day before. So sometimes it's just kind of muggy and gross in there inside the buildings, but for the most part, it's way more comfortable than being outside where this time of year in Arizona, it could be 80 something degrees out, which means the sun is hitting you at like 114, but it's cold air blowing past you. So, the up and down part of your body is cold. The top and parts of your body that have sunlight hitting them are sweating. And, it's that kind of situation sometimes. It wasn't though this weekend. This was, like I say, aside from being just super bright, like no clouds, the weather was just fine. And it's also been, at least for down here in Tucson, it's been sort of shitty. So it was a nice relief to have sort of temperate, like normal, regular shirt, no jacket type of weather.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I say I haven't even really heard about any of the gun shows around here going off recently, but then again, it seems like more and more get canceled every year. There's only a handful that I know of anymore.
Well, a lot of stuff's getting canceled, and then I guess that's all I was going to say. Also, is that they canceled this weekend. I learned about a couple more being canceled in our neck of the try to say which gun show. It was the Small Arms Review show. It's called the SAR show. Sorry, I'm yawning again. So it's official yawn number 2. The Small Arms Review show. Small Arms Review is a magazine that comes out 6 times a year, I think, every other month. And they deal with collectibles and investment type of guns, historic stories, and insight into, maybe the origins or the development or the uses or the cartridges for, or all these different things about all these different guns. They'll have different subject matter experts as writers and guest lecturers, interviewers, whatever you want to call it, on a magazine. Really good pictures, but it's more words than pictures. My experience, I have quite a few of them. They have pictures to illustrate what they're talking about, but they've never been like one of the photo heavy, photocentric type of magazines. And then somewhere around 2000 or something, they started having a portion of this giant gun show devoted to their periodical, or somehow, I don't really know the origin story, but basically the advertisers in the magazine, I suspect, and then enthusiasts, people that subscribe, I guess. Holy crap, that was a big one. I couldn't even get the mute on in time. So that was on number 3. So anyway, people that read the magazine probably were aware of this show, started to show up, and giant building at the Arizona State Fairgrounds. I think I saw somewhere that it's 5,000. No, it can't be. It has to be 50,000 square feet or something. Just a huge building. It's like the second or third. No, it's probably like the third or fourth, maybe, largest building there. So it's big, but it isn't the biggest building. But certainly a big enough building all the gun shows I've been to across the country that could hold just about every gun show. So just that SAR portion itself could hold most gun shows that happen in the country that I've experienced. But then there's a gun show attached to it, or it's one building of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So sometimes 3 or 4, all the way up to 6 or more buildings encompass the gun show that is adjacent to it. And they're basically just next to each other. One of the buildings is Small Arms Review. It's almost always the same building. And then all the other buildings, or up to all the other buildings, either 3 or more of the other buildings at the fairgrounds will be the gun show part of it, the standard gun show. Extra gallon of gas, appreciate that, thank you. That's actually 2 gallons. It's about $1.99 here in Tucson. It was like $2.30, and then one of the stores, like some food store, had a gas station, and it was at $1.99, so the same price as in Tucson. And this was coming home midday Saturday, Sunday. I mean, I've never seen a line like that going into a gas station in forever. To save 20 cents, because I mean, I should have gotten video of it, but I was driving. Billions of people in line, waiting in line to just pump gas at the store brand place that was at $1.99. And across the street, there's a QT, is this chain out here with a bunch of different beverages and stuff. So like a fancy truck stop almost, but it's a gas station. And theirs was like $2.25, $2.23 or something. I'm like, are you kidding me? You are all going to wait in line over 20 cents a gallon? And some of these little cars, there's no way they carry more than 10 gallons or 20 gallons, really. You know, some Civil War shows around here in South Carolina a couple of times a year. I should probably look into that. I have a couple of the collector shows in my list, but I didn't think about a Civil War show. That's like for reenactors, or is that for just collectors? Because I imagine there must be both, or if there may be enough crossover that there's no differentiation.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if any of those reenactments have like a swap meet type thing that is adjacent to it. I know that there's a steam engine show that happens about 2 or 3 miles from my house every year. They actually do it twice a year, but they have a bunch of old steam tractors, stuff like that people bring in, and they do a bunch of stuff. But they also have a big swap meet right next door to it at the same time, and always something good there.
Very cool. So let's see. He didn't say how many, but he says we have some Civil War shows around here in South Carolina a couple of times a year. A lot bigger than here. The biggest is only 400 tables. So you're saying that the biggest shows in your area are 400 tables, but that Civil War shows are a lot bigger than here. That would make sense. I guess I was reading that wrong. I'm getting loopy. I'd be on twice, I think, when you were just talking right there. But then he answered mostly collectors. So yeah, that would be actually pretty interesting. I can't even imagine. I think about, because I know they existed, and unfortunately they existed while I was alive. I just never went to one. But I've heard of gun shows that don't sell anything. They are literally shows where the collectors, the people who like to share their collections, all just show up, and I guess it was being judged, but like a very non-competitive type being judged or whatever, and everyone just had a good time sharing their collections. And that's neat. I mean, going to a museum and seeing a specimen of a bunch of different types all together in a collection, that's neat. But if the person who did the acquisitions and why can explain why and what gaps they fill and stuff, that's neat. You don't have to, to fill out a test or nothing afterwards. You can just forget it right away, or, use some of those elements to maybe fill in gaps of other things. Or I often find, you'll be hearing some history of something, and you'll get little nuggets that fill in gaps or gives you ideas about something else that you've been working on.
So it's kind of like a car show with firearms.
Yeah.
That'd be freaking awesome.
Let's see. The biggest. Now you say the biggest is 400 compared to the shows you were showing on the screen. Yeah. I wish. Do I have something that tells me how big SAR show is? I guess I should know. We know that Wanamaker is what, 4,000 tables. I would
Something
say
like that.
SAR is probably 2,000. Let me see if I can just ask the internet. How many tables is SAR show? Yeah, it's not going to tell me. The only thing it brought up was their own website, and I'm almost positive it didn't tell me because I looked at it before. All right, well, that's a good place to end it. Talking about a gun show. This is the Daily Gun Show, and you guys got anything else? Is DJ in here?
His avatar's there, but I don't think I've even seen him unmute.
Yeah, we haven't even seen you unmute, so I'm not sure if he's in here or if his connection's having issues or what. But anyway, thanks for jumping in. Woods was in here. I had so many chats today. I think Clover was in a different one, but thanks to Clover for jumping in earlier. Oh snap! I just realized that Garrett threw $10. Thank you very, very much. Do appreciate that, and I think that's all the comments. I don't think I missed anything. Like I said, we started out here kind of chatting for a little bit and had a pretty good chat. We're 2 hours in, a little over 2 hours for 2A, and with that, we'll be back to pick up later. You want to plug anything before we head out?
No, I'm good.
All right.